Welcome back. Yeah, Bishop Isaac Idahosa joins us next. He is the vice presidential candidate of the NNPP. He joins us virtually. Good morning, Bishop. Thank you for joining us today, and a Happy New Year to you today.
Happy New Year. Good morning, Chamberlain. Good morning, Nigeria.
Yeah, so just wondering, with all of these endorsements here, endorsement there, APC, PDP, LP, all going at each other, what's going on with the NNPP? Where are you? Aren't you concerned that, don't you need some endorsements yourself, NNPP, for instance?
Shockingly, we've had some endorsements here and there, but we don't want to make it open. Like I did mention earlier on last year, that it's a surprise package NNPP has got for Nigeria. And we've had prominent people that have endorsed us. And from the look of things, it's working. You see, most of the times when you hide your winning symbols or winning rules in life, you tend to have more results than exposing what is it that everybody is looking for. Now, endorsement comes when people believe in you, but then you see the electorates have got all the powers invested on them to be able to elect those ones their conscience is judging them aright to do. Now, if I mention to you a few that have endorsed us, you will marvel. And over time, you begin to see the manifestations of all I have been saying. We've been doing a whole lot. When Peter Obi is endorsed based on what the elder statesman, former president, said of track record, which we have even much more. Track record, he talked about track record, he talked about vision, character, and the physique. And these are the things, indeed, that must be found and seen in any leader as a very good attribute or quality. And my own principal, His Excellency Dr. Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, has got all these in abundance. When you talk about track record, what he's been able to achieve, and is still on there as a very proper, peaceable legacy in Kano when he was two-time governor. You talk about vision. He's a visionary leader who's been able to see so much so to knowing enough that curbing insecurity has to do with education. That endeared a whole lot to him in Kano when he was able to mop up those who are out of school children, their margeries, send them to school. They enjoy scholarship, not minding whether you're an indigene or a resident of Kano, very detribalized, send them to go to tertiary schools to be able to acquire light. That's education. Now, so this is a visionary leader. You talk about character that Obasanjo found in Obi. My leader, I've known him for almost a decade now. Very strong character man who is not compromised, not cowardized, not confused, a man of competence. And of course, when we talk about physics, a man who was once Minister of Defense, and till date, you can see that in him. Last week, he was able to tour Jigawa, Katsina, Zamfara, Kano, and Kebbi. And this is not the type of interstate state capital campaigning, going from nook and cranny, going grassroots, going local governments, wards, and then galvanizing votes,
Bishop.
and then enduring these manifestos to people. And yes. Can hear you,
Bishop, I don't think that anyone has really raised any issue about the integrity of your presidential candidate, but there are questions about whether or not he's really in the race to win. Oftentimes when we talk about the front runners, it's just sometimes that they include the NNPP for maybe what they think might be its disruptive tendencies. They do not think that it really has a very strong leg in terms of being able to, really make a mark, say, in all the geopolitical zones of the country. So when you talk about endorsements and you say, oh, your endorsements are going to their surprise package, they're still in secret. Endorsements are usually quite open. endorsements are what is given so that other people can queue behind whoever it is that is given the endorsement. So why is it that your own endorsement is secret?
It's secret because there is time for manifestation, and the time is already here. And we'll begin to pull them out. That's why we have to overturn the results. Now, you see, it takes a mark to attract an eraser. Those who undermine us should go on ahead undermining us. Now, we are going to, and we have already started it. It's now 25th of February is already at the corner. You will call me back to say congratulations. And I know from what angle I'm saying this, basis I'm saying this, what determines the election are the electorates. We are moved towards them, and we've been able to know what we've been able to achieve. We are in it. Again, Mark, we understand this clearly. We are in it to win it. Clarity is power. We can see beyond what you are saying based on our mapping out our movements and the cooperation of the mercies. And of course, the elites that want to see what we see. We are moving on, and we are spreading. From, like today, I'm on my way to Benin, from Benin to Delta, back to Castina. So back to back. I mentioned that when we start. We're already on there, and we are in the ring. And not just that, anyone standing in the way will have himself to blame, in the sense that Nigerians know what they are looking out for. Not the propaganda you find around, not the social media thing you find around. It is that we are appealing to the common man.
Excuse me.
Sorry?
Are you disappointed that former President Olusegun Obasanjo didn't endorse your candidate, considering the fact that, you know, he also worked with him? You talked about him being Minister of Defense, etc. This was under the Obasanjo administration. Are you disappointed that he did not endorse somebody whom he has worked directly with him, you know, as his own choice for president this year?
No, I'm not disappointed. There is just that one among 200 million people endorsing a candidate. And so many more will go out there to endorse those they want to endorse. He has the entitlement to endorse who he wants to endorse. Why will I be disappointed? The elder statesman, ex-former president, just got one vote to cast. And it depends on what that endorsement has to do, the impact it has to do on Peter Obi and Labour Party. But for us, NNPP, we are never disappointed. It's just another way to say, move on ahead, get courageous, and then get at the goal.
What are your permutations? Where are the areas where you are thinking that you would, you know, win at least maybe 7? I know that you have to win 2/3, 25% in 2/3 of the country. But where are the places where you are thinking that you will be able to really make a mark and take a huge chunk of the votes in those states?
Well, look at the 19 states, northern states. No doubt for what we have done. Now, from today, we are moving towards the south, and that's where I'm heading towards now, after now, and to be able to galvanize 25%, 30%, as the case might be, we are the party to look out for. Why? Because our strategy is quite different from the north. We are penetrating and making our impacts known, and looking forward to a time where opportunity will be given to the electors to cast their votes. So we've been able to do a lot. Again, we are going to go into the normal one people use to measure success. That's the state capital campaign. That's not the strategy we deployed. We deployed going to the grassroots, the words, local governments, and education. Now, it's now about time to begin to do the interstate capital campaign that people are used to. You see, when you are used to what you are used to, you will not be used to how it should be. So with this deployment of strategy, by the time it culminates into the massive gathering of voters for people to see, then they'll begin to change their minds. So the southern part is going to feel our weight now, just like the northern part have felt our weight before we begin the interstate capital campaign.
But Bishop, don't you think that your party may be somewhat disadvantaged if you compare with the parties that have got governors, sitting governors, senators, members of the House of Representatives at the federal level, state legislature, because all of those persons who are in those parties who are also running for elections want to win. So they will deploy their resources, they will deploy their influence, they'll deploy whatever they can to ensure that they win, and those may count for something. Don't you feel that the NNPP, who doesn't have all of that, may be on the back foot already?
Anyways, I've never had that feeling where it comes as a thought, but then when thoughts come, you do something about the thoughts and then put into action. In fact, that is one of the reasons we are pushing. It energizes us. But we know when you have some demerits or disadvantages, you want to put in so much effort to counter or overcome them. And that's what we've been achieving. There have been a lot of people too who are endeared by the leadership skill of my leader, His Excellency Rabbi Musa Kwankwaso, all of these states. And we've been doing grassroots. Now, you see, leadership is what you have to talk about, the influence. And we've been able to see, to some extent, major percentage of influence cast on the electorate. So you will see surprises overturning, and people you think are not, those you think are on the ground are not on the ground. Why? Because people are tired. We are here with this simple gospel, new Nigeria. Except people are comfortable with where we are, what they are feeling about the economy, insecurity, infrastructural decay, and what have you. We are coming with freshness, fresh air to breathe. And when we begin to see overturning, and in a short while, we begin to welcome a whole lot of people who are fed up with what is happening in their parties, coming to NNPP to campaign. And then we taking over from place to place, from city to city, from village to village, from suburb to suburb. And that's what I'm saying. Just give us a little time in the sense that elections are here. 25th of February will justify the entire news we're talking about.
All time flies, we sure know that. But let's bring in our colleague from Lagos, Ayo.
You know, one of the natural questions that come to my mind is, I mean, when you talk about the endorsement, Chamberlain, I'd like to ask the bishop, you know, how significantly you would say your party resonates with young people, with the youths generally. I ask that against the backdrop, first of all, for the fact that the former President Obasanjo addressed that letter to young people, and secondly, the fact that, I mean, we haven't, as my colleagues have said, been hearing much about the NNPP over time. So one is wondering, will the young people also be surprised?
The young people are fully involved in what we are doing. I'm young, I'm sure you do know. And that tells you how important young people are and the youths are. And our vision is to captivate them. And we have been doing that. What you people have not been seeing are the normal way of campaigning. And that is to say, going from state capital to begin to galvanize and as it were the crowd who may not even have their voter card, who don't even believe in you because of the kind of poverty you find. 5,000, 3,000 buys to a lot of crowd. You don't just invest in trying to get a crowd, and that will be it. We don't believe in that kind of politicking. We have administered or shared our visions, and we are still doing that. And the youth are the main grassroots we have been reaching out to. When this will be a lot clearer when we begin to do the norms, that is, haven't done our strategies, haven't affected our strategies, then we'll begin to bring the campaign into state capitals, and then you will now begin to see the strength you are looking at, maybe about the crowd gathering. But we have the youth in our systems enough to overturn the table. We have already passed our message, and of course, you see, if we don't have the interest of the youth, how will we talk about the NACO, the WAEC, the JAM, everything going for free? We have them at heart. That's why we are saying we must educate you. We must give you all you require to ensure that you go to school. That is the starting point. And the youths who are already graduates and graduates without jobs. We're going to create different means for them to be absorbed into the work market. So we have targets for the youth, and it has been done before, not about to be begun now. That's the antecedent, the track record we are talking about. Dr. Ponkosto mocked our youth in their thousands and sent them abroad on scholarship basis to become useful to themselves and the entire nation. And the youths, we have you at heart until we are able to say, yes, Wuri.
Well, Bishop, you know, it'll be quite the surprise to find that the NNPC decides, and it'll be a win for the NNPP if, for instance, the NNPP decides to align with any of the other political parties, the LP, the PDP, or the APC. It will be a surprise. And if anyone you align with wins, it's a win for the NNPP as well. So could that be one of the surprises that Nigerians should be looking forward to?
Well, like I said, we will never take the second fiddle. We are good enough to go, but our doors are open for alignment. That is to say, they coming to join. We are the strength of this election. NNPP is the party to beat. Now, why is it going to be a surprise? Because we have been underrated, undermined. You remember, we just came into the scene 9 months, 10 months ago, and it takes a party that is visionary, that has got a very strong visionary leader to be able to do that. Imagine what happens when those who you think are not. And we'll be receiving calls from here and there and asking us to consider alignment. But we say, well, let's all go push. It's necessary for us to put the rightful right in the front. When we get to the bridge, we will cross it. But we are in it to win it. We're going to go for the elections. And whatever the outcome is, it would have been a very good point to start. If we win, wonderful. And that's the intention. We are not in there to back off or to now give up. It's too early to give up. We are not intending to give up. We're in it to win it. Anybody who wants to align with us comes behind us as we take the lead.
Well, you are not unaware, Bishop, that there are pontifications that there could be a second ballot, and it will be quite the first, you know, in our nation. So one wonders, is that part of the strategy of the NNPP that in the event that there is a second ballot, like a, you know, a supplementary election or whatever it is, a runoff election, is the NNPP, will the NNPP be willing to align with another political party if the NNPP, for instance, does not make it to the first election?
Anyways, we are not really ruling that one out. When we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. Then we'll now sit down and count the cost. We have to tilt to us, and we'll ensure it's one that has our philosophy, our ideology, one that is thinking the way we are thinking. Nothing wrong doing that. If there's a possible runoff, then we're able to sit down and then take stock and then know what to do next.
So essentially you're saying...
Is to always know, what in life is to always know what to do next.
Okay. So essentially you're saying that an alignment of sorts is on the table. It's just a matter of time.
No. We're not thinking aligning right now. We're thinking of winning straight. First ballot, NNPP comes first, and then by God's grace, the 29th of May, we are sworn in to take over the responsibility of ensuring for good governance that will be administering to Nigeria and Nigerians.
Bishop, you know, you sit in a very delicate space as a cleric to whom many people have to listen, and as a politician. And there is this popular word out there that generally politicians are an extremely optimistic set of people. And some say that politicians don't tell themselves the truth, that even though they know that they're not going far, they still continue to make those positive statements. So are you speaking as a politician or as a cleric that affirmatively the NNPP is on the way to Aso Rock in 2023?
My dear, why would we begin what will not end? We began it because we want to win it. We began it because we have something different perspective, different vision. We began it because people are fed up and are tired of what's happening, and we feel we can improve on the lives, secure Nigeria and unite Nigeria, and provide for them necessary amenities for them to live and have a good well-being. So it's not about being a cleric, being positive. It is a whole lot of hard work, determination, courage, competence in the leadership. That's where we are involved. Again, for me to be involved, I must have sat down. The Bible says, he that must build a tower sits down first and counts the cost. Now, getting involved simply means there's something God is up to in Nigeria. Like somebody said, God is in Nigeria because of all kinds of stuff Nigeria is passed through. Well, it's not unique to Nigeria, but then it's right for us to raise our voices, and not just raising our voices, get involved and get what is required to salvage, to rescue, to deliver Nigeria. We have all it takes to live a better life in Nigeria, and we don't sit on the fence. We have to be involved to getting sure these things are obtained. That's why we are in there. We are in there not just to speak sweet words, kind words, political words, cleric words. No, facts, the reality of life is to get involved and get this thing done. So we are in it to get it done, and it shall be done.
One of the highlights is that a lot of people who went to register this time, they are so optimistic because they are of the impression that their vote will count. So that is why a lot of them, there's a surge this time because of what they think they've seen, and they think if it goes the way they think it will go, if anything else fails, at least they will take solace in the fact that their vote counts. So from what you've seen about preparations and build-up for these elections by the umpire, INEC, there are lots of questions as to recruitment of ad hoc staff, training of ad hoc staff, conduct of the electoral officers, picking up the permanent voter cards. Are you impressed so far with what you've seen?
So far, so good. So far, so good. We must learn to believe in structures, and structures must be stronger than individuals. Institutions must be stronger than individuals. And it's proven over time, some by-elections that took place, that they are credible enough, they can be trusted until otherwise proven. That's why you can find people trooping into the systems to having their voter cards. Those who have never voted before, interested in voting now because of the green light they have received that their votes will count. Any reasonable person will want to be involved in a system that works. And if it's not working, if there are some gray areas, it is that they should be given all required. And I'm aware that they have been given more than enough what they require to ensure that the system succeeds during this forthcoming election. So we must believe and trust the system until proven otherwise. So far, so good. Kudos to INEC.
Well, from what you've seen so far as well, would you encourage people, young people, or perhaps people in your sphere of influence, religious ones at that, to venture into politics? I know that there's usually this trepidation. They tiptoe around political issues and topics as such, so they're usually very cautious about it. So having where you are now, has your views changed as to how politics should be played and who should be in it?
Trembling, absolutely so. You see, most of the times, before now, we keep praying to God for what we are able to do for ourselves. Heaven will only help you when you get involved into things. Nobody succeeds in influencing people from the distance. Get involved. I used to have that notion that, oh, God will come down to salvage Nigeria. God will use human vessels to salvage Nigeria or changing any situation. And then we have been clamoring that prayer is not enough. What government ought to do for us, God won't do that for us because he instituted the government and authority. So we have been asking, sensitizing our people to say, politics, they call it a dirty game. When I said, if it's a dirty game, I'm here with a washing machine to be able to cleanse it off. Let's get involved. When I remember, let me share this with you, it might be of great importance. On the field of play, there was this commentator who was running down everybody on the field in the field of play, and he would condemn everyone in that field. until during the halftime, they went to find out who is this man condemning everyone that played. They found out he was a cripple, disadvantaged, couldn't play at all. Now, not to say that we have no respect for the disadvantaged, but we are saying that if you are not involved, you will not know the nitty-gritties. You will not even know how much power of prayer, how much we can involve God, how much the fear of God can do. So if you say you are the best and you are not involved, then you are an accomplice. So we must rally around and sensitize our people, educate them to understanding this is where we belong. We must get involved to salvage it or to improve on it and give us better governance and better life. So Christians are awake and much more awoken. Check out the next dispensation after these 4 years. And in between, you begin to see the full involvement of Christians because they do know to take it means you must be involved. And that is where we are now.
Are you bothered about the after effects? For instance, if there happened to be backlash, if there were information or news out there that may be negative about your party or about yourself because you're on the same ticket, so they might paint all of you with one brush, whether it's good news or bad news. And being in your position, you may not be, you know, of course, nobody wants any negativity around themselves, but given where you are, how do you deal with such possibilities of such scenarios playing out?
Well, it's not what happens to you that defines you, it's your response. And again, even our Lord Jesus was criticized, was ostracized, that he was focused. It's not about your reputation, but your character. Reputation is people's opinion about you. Your character is you. So I am aware of all this, that it could happen. If it happens, attitude towards it, you dust off your body and move on. You are right in it until you get to the end. So the sweet, the bitter are all welcomed. They are part of the system. They are part of politicking. Aside, even normal lives, nobody gets, you don't attract an eraser until you make a mark. So if people don't talk about you, whether good or bad, something is wrong. In fact, if people talk about you all the time for good, then you must have compromised along the line. So it's a welcome thing any day.
All right, Bishop Isaac Idahosa, Vice Presidential Candidate of the NNPP. Thank you for coming on, and all the best.
Thank you so much.
We're back in just a moment, still talking about the 2023 presidential elections. Stay with us.